Hello, everybody. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Tilde. Welcome to the Divine Quotient podcast. Around here, we go way beyond the small talk. We're talking soul to soul with truth, purpose, and what it means to really lead a spirit led life. Get ready for real stories, deep laughs, and those aha moments that light you up from the inside out. This is the Divine Quotient, where we remember who we really are and learn to live life to the fullest again. My guest today is Jasmine Partida. Did I
Mhm.
pronounce that correctly? Jasmine.
Yeah, you got it.
And I have a fun story about Jasmine. She's a digital marketing strategist. And the way that I came across her was actually on TikTok. And so it's kind of a little fun story. And I just watched her lives a couple of times. And what she was saying just really resonated with me. And she was talking about how to be real, how people are
Mm.
craving authenticity. And I know I crave authenticity when I'm looking for people. And so her message really resonated with me. And so started a working relationship and really enjoying it. And so I wanted her to be the first guest. She actually volunteered to be the first guest, which I totally appreciate because for me, doing a live on LinkedIn and YouTube because it's also being broadcast on YouTube. I'd never done it before, so it was really great to have her volunteer to be the first guest and to help me just launch this thing that I had been sitting on for quite a while now. So thank you for that, Jasmine.
Absolutely. I mean, the concept is so great, and sometimes you just need a little partnership on those first steps.
Yeah.
Makes
So
all the difference.
tell the audience a little bit about you and what you do, how you help
Sure.
companies.
So I help people with sales from social media. So I do that a lot of different ways, but my approach is, and I think this is why we really kind of connect, is because my approach is different than most people's who are trying to have a manipulative conversation in a sales call, or they're trying to have like how to get the most attention just for attention's sake and visibility. I'm really trying to connect businesses with audiences that are a good fit so that everybody really aligns in it and works well together. And then you have better success in your projects, in your sales, with your clients, with your customers. And as a business, you tend to have more success in faster sales as well because everybody's really aligned. And so I think that's part of why you and I connected, because you're very much in that alignment space. And I bring alignment into sales and social media. It doesn't have to be dance trends and whatever. I can't dance to save my life. So that is, I don't have a fallback on dance. I had to come up with a different angle for starters. I'm infamously bad. But it also, at the core, I really feel like marketing over, if you look over like decades or centuries, it's all about connecting a possible client with the best possible product for them. And I think if we bring that to our social media, as people are looking for that authenticity, it really builds a better business as well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and your journey. Like how did you come to this, you
Why
know,
am I here
place?
today?
Yes, why are you here today and how did you get to this version of you?
Yeah, so I got to tell you, I've been doing this for 17 years. So I've been doing this since the early days of social media, where like Twitter and Tumblr were like the things, right? There wasn't Instagram yet. Facebook didn't have pages yet. So I started a while ago. And when I started, it was during a bit of a recession. So what was happening was I was helping businesses that were like, we don't have any money, but there's this new social, like for marketing, and our businesses are starting to falter. We have to reach some new clients. Can you help us find some through social media? We hear this is a thing. Like it was a new, like a lot of businesses didn't even really know what it was. Social media marketing wasn't a term. So when I started, it was this era of marketing, kind of the end of this era of marketing, where you couldn't get the visibility you needed unless you had a huge budget because you were competing against Target as a small shop. That's why all the bookstores went away during this period and kind of just before, right? Because Amazon and Barnes and Noble had the bigger budgets. So when I came on, it was all about really saving these small companies. And many of them, it wasn't fast enough. And I saw a number of businesses go under because it was right around that '08 crash. So I just have really taken to heart what it means to show up for businesses, I think, in a different way. So the couple of years after that, as I was working through my social media, I was doing what people told me to do. Where you like start a business and they're like, well, you have to have packages and you can only, tell them you only do 3 platforms and tell them that they can only get 30 posts a month and you get 2 weeks paid vacation by your clients. Like there were all these things people were telling me to do and it never fit and it never felt right. And I felt gross. I had sales scripts. I would sweat. I would legitimately sweat
You both.
going. Because like, oh, I have to say what? And like, I'd have this like list of objections and things I could say. And then I'm like checking my notes. I didn't sell shit. Like it was awful. I could not figure it out. And I didn't feel good. And I would go to bed at night just being like, I hate this business. I don't know why I'm doing this. And I think about the small businesses that were closing. And I'm like, there has to be a way to save these businesses because social media marketing is darn near free. It levels the playing field between small business and big conglomerates, right? So there's got to be a way to support them. And I will tell you, I got COVID and I was in bed for a month. Like I have asthma. And so COVID hit my lungs pretty hard. So I was down and it was the longest I hadn't worked since I was like 15.
Wow.
And so as I was coming through the second half of that month, when I wasn't just spinning my wheels doing all that busy work that I always say, you got to get rid of the busy work to get to your CEO mindset. I finally was at the space where my mind was clear enough to be like, you know what? My clients need these 10 things to be successful. They have to have these 10 things. Nobody's offering all 10 of those because how do I do that? So then I spent 2 weeks designing the process that I would need to do internally so that I had a product that did everything they needed in one setting, and my sales took off. And I no longer have sales calls. I talk about that. I literally got rid of my sales call. So if you want to book a chat with me, it used to say the no sales call. And I would just show up and talk to people, right? And so they knew they weren't going to be sold to. So they would just come and talk and I would kind of chat. And if it was aligned, they would buy. And those converted at almost 100%. And many people were buying off hours. Like I would wake up and have sales of $2,500 packages. And it's because I aligned it. But I also got better results for my clients because I was aligned with my clients.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where before I was fighting for clients and trying to like almost like trick people into buying from me, I had moved into this space where I'm like, this is a product for really heart-centered businesses that want to connect authentically to your audiences. This is all the support you're going to get. And it just changed my world and my experience, I think.
Don't you think, because you and I talked a little bit before we came on, and you brought up something very interesting that I think is relevant here, and that is that we're brought up with competition, right? And competition, we don't realize, is a lack mindset, right? Like there's not enough out there, and I have to compete with everyone, or I have to be just like everyone else who's successful in my industry, let's say, right? And so then you become this cookie cutter and try to fit in to where you just don't. And because those systems and processes, yeah, they worked for them, but they're not working for me because it's just not who I am, right? And so we're talking about that alignment. So for you, how did that shift happen for you too, where you were no longer competing or saw yourself competing, or what happened? What happened with that?
You know what? It's really funny. I actually still felt very competitive for a while because I felt like I'd come up with something amazing that I was afraid everybody was going to steal. I was afraid to talk about it. I was afraid to put it out there. I was afraid to explain it. And then I had this guy hire me. And so when somebody hires me, I go very deeply into their socials to see what they've done that's worked in the past and kind of get a sense of what they've been doing, why they hired me, try to kind of identify. And I went through his things and he had been offering my package because it's called the 100 post package. He had been offering it and then he hired me. So when he got to the onboarding call, I'm like, we got to be real. What is this? What is this? And he's like, yeah, I tried. I couldn't figure out how to do it. So that was when I was like, you know what? No, if somebody wants to take it and steal it and they run with it, great. I'm still going to be doing my version. It's fine. And that was the first time that I was able to relax. And I kind of discovered that, again, if somebody wasn't a good client for me, and I will tell them, I'll be like, I don't think we're a good fit. Here's like 3 or 4 people I would look into and see if maybe they're a better fit for you. And I don't think there's anything thing wrong with being like, we're not a good fit. I can't get good results for someone who's not a good fit. If, when I first started, for example, people would hire me and then fight me on every post I did because social media was new. And so a lot of these business owners, they knew they needed it, but they didn't understand that it was more of a relaxed conversation with their audience. So they would fight me on every post. I'm like, why did you hire me? Why am I here? And so once I let go of that and was like, there's a lot of people doing social media. There's a lot of people out there solving the same problem, but I do it uniquely. And so I will uniquely have clients that works for. There's millions of, hundreds of thousands, maybe not millions, but there's hundreds of thousands of businesses that need social media strategy and help in just the US. And I have clients in other countries. So, but I sold less when I was afraid. I sold less when I was hiding or playing small because I was afraid of competition, or afraid of putting myself out there or being whatever. The second I let go of that and was like, this is who I am and what I offer, it changed everything. And I think it's in part because I showed up differently, right? I'm sure I spoke differently and I show up more confidently because of that as well.
Do you find, because I felt in my own journey, like when I realized that I had been trying so hard, just doing, and I identify that with being like, we're all made up of masculine and feminine energies, right? Where the masculine energy is always the one doing or acting, right? Going after things, putting in the work and the effort, and the feminine is more of the nurturer, the collaborative person, the intuitive. And when I started to examine myself in my life, it was like I had been so much in my masculine energy doing, right, or trying to prove something, and that creates more doing and a busyness. And I hadn't been enough in my feminine energy to where I was actually listening intuitively to what I really needed, right, or what I really wanted, and allowing myself to actually be honest with, what do I really want here? And then being super clear about what I want, and then allowing myself to be still enough and long enough to listen intuitively to what is the next action that I need to take. And then using that masculine energy in the doing with its inspired action, right? Taking inspired action. Did you find yourself sort of adjusting to that a little bit, or like?
Well, I guess that's why I brought up how I ended up kind of down for a month, was because that was getting to that quiet space was not natural for me. I grew up with parents that were entrepreneurs, grandparents who were always on multiple projects. Like we're doers. So like you don't stop and reflect a lot when you're in that space. And it's almost like tripping down a hill. So for a while you're up and it's fine. But once you do a little bit of a trip, it just kind of snowballs, right? And it's scary to stop and be like, I'm just going to listen to the quiet, because you feel like you're missing something when you stop or when you pause or when you reflect. And then when the entire rest of the industry is telling you this is how it is, it's very hard to step back and be like, but that's not who I am. And everything all day is telling me the other thing. And then I, on top of it, can't leave social media. I tell people to take social media breaks in this space that you're talking about. I literally can't do that because I have stuff. Like I work on social media. So to take that break was really scary and tough, I think. And I'm really glad that I was able to. And I actually do a thing now every year on my birthday. And I've done this since before I got COVID. But every year is my birthday is my new year. So I actually take the week and I set my 1 year, 5 year, and 10-year goals. I look at what I did last year, see if I hit them, and kind of reestablish based on things that might have changed. And then kind of reset the tone and the priorities, like the top 3 priorities for the year. And that's like my resolution of my new year. And New Year's comes and I go to bed at like 9. I do not care about New Year because I had mine because my birthday is at the end of October. I'm like, I just did that. I'm good. Right? So I think that pause, if we can work that in, changes everything, because society tells us to ignore our intuition. Society says it knows better. But innovation and scaling and becoming more enlightened and aware never happens by just doing what everybody else is doing.
The simplicity of the divine quotient is moving from that place of fear or lack into love and abundance, right? And when you're in fear, then you're moving from a place of fear or lack, then you don't even realize that you're creating more of that, right? And you begin chasing and you never attain. Whereas if you're in what I call divine alignment, right? Spirit, mind, body alignment, there's this certainty and a confidence that comes with that, and a peace that comes with that you can't beat. Like, to me, that's invaluable. When I know that I'm coming from a place of alignment, I can feel it. I can sense the difference because I'm self-aware enough to know what it felt like without being in alignment, right? And how I was chasing things that just I didn't want. It wasn't me. It's never been me. It's not going to be me. And and so, but really, I think living from a place of alignment, I had to define success for myself. Like, what does success mean for me? And not because the world is telling me what success looks like or should look like, or because I have to prove anything to my family or anyone. It's like, what is it that I really want? What does success mean to me, my soul? What would make my soul sing, let's say, right? And so once I got clear about what that is, then it's almost like this visualization. And when I work with clients, a big part of that is visualization. What does that feel like to you? Right? I feel freedom when I think about success. I feel the ability to be generous, right? The luxury of freedom. And so then once you start to get into that energy, then and you start and they start to feel it, then it's like, okay, every decision I make from this point forward is going to be in alignment with that. And anything that doesn't resonate, then it's not for me. It's not going to lead me where I want to go. It's not that it's wrong. It's just I get to decide if I want to take a detour or if I want to continue on the path that's going to lead me to where I want to go, and enjoy it as much as the visualization of already being there.
Yeah. Oh, you have to love the journey. Otherwise you miss the whole experience, right? But I talk about that a lot in my lives, that you have to define success for yourself in order to reach that level of success. And I have a family member who, when I was growing up as an entrepreneur, missed his kids growing up, missed the entire experience of his kids' childhood because he just kept going forward chasing success. And this person actually hit $6 million a year and didn't know it. Didn't know until his accountant was like, hold up, we have to look at this now. We're doing donations at the end of the year. Yeah, this is actually a bit of a problem. Yeah, he didn't know. And so so for me, I'm always very cognizant of, okay, that's great that I'm chasing this thing, but my family really comes first, that my kids and being there for them is really a priority. And that if they're successful, that's success for me. I have a very clear definition of success for myself. And I think checking in with yourself continually on what that is, and if you're on the same path, also helps you get there faster. Because if you accidentally make a wrong decision or a detour or a side quest, you can kind of right the ship and be like, okay, that was a great side quest, but I'm moving back towards where I really want to go. And so you need to build in those check-ins with yourself, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for me, what has caused me to slow down too is to be able to, I don't do this every day, but every day that I do it makes a huge difference, is how do I want to be successful today? Right. And so then it's what action am I going to be taking today? Like, what is success for me today? And sometimes it's just peace. It's just peace. On the weekends, if I tap in, it's like, what do I want to do today? What does success look like today? Sometimes it's just peace. I'm not doing anything, right? And I think that's the difference between being soul aligned and not, is that when you're in alignment, you get really, really comfortable with yourself in the being and not doing, not having to do or feel like you have to do anything to actually have
Mm-hmm.
value, to value myself, to have confidence, to just love myself and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy whatever it is that success means to me today.
Yeah, and I think simple joys as well. I think we're always looking for that kind of bigger, and again, I think that's a very out in the world kind of dialogue. But when you actually bring it in and you think about what really matters to you in the moment, it's always going to be those smaller moments.
So when you're working with
Um,
companies um, or entrepreneurs, like what have you seen? Is there a trend in the messaging or in um, what's working? Like for people watching, that are kind of in the muck and mire and feeling stagnant in their
yeah.
social media channels, what are, let's say, the top three things that they need to evaluate?
So the first thing I always tell people is if you're following a bunch of people trying to get advice on social media, pick the top two or three that work for you and let everything else go because the noise is actually holding you back. It's contradictory. People have different theories and ideas and approaches. Rule out and remove, just legitimately remove the ones that don't work for you. So that's the first thing, is really cut down on the noise of how you're approaching your socials. Second off, understand that as a small business or as a single creator, you have actually more power on these internet streets than Macy's, or I always talk about Target, because they're going through a bit of an interesting rough patch, struggling with their social media. So for me, it's fun to watch because I can kind of see what they're doing and how they're adjusting. But we as consumers really want to connect with small businesses. We want to buy from other people. We want to buy from someone we can call and talk to. We don't want to be lost in the how to get through customer service lines and maybe never get a human. We want to connect with real people. And so the more authentic and real you are, the more you will actually sell. So I always tell people the first thing to do is those things that you tell people, and what I call like the free speeches, those kind of things you say to the first kind of conversation with your clients. Those first moments where you're like, okay, but understand you have to do this in your business, or you have to do this to be successful. Make those posts. Bring us something we can't Google. Show us how you solve problems uniquely and show up as yourself. You don't need to match your colors to your whatever, your logo. Like, remember that was like a thing in like 2019, you had to like match. We're done. Like, we want a real human that we can talk to and connect to, and we can get a sense of who you are and how you solve our problem differently. So that's kind of the first thing. And then the next thing is to create content that allows us to be inspired by what you do and where you can take us, because that's the actual content that moves people forward. When you inspire us, it inspires us to take action. It inspires us to see the vision, because whatever the problem you solve, whether you're selling shoes or couches or coaching, at the end of the day, we haven't bought that thing yet because we're confused as to what we want. We're not 100% sure. So when you give us that inspiration and that vision, that helps us choose you. So those are kind of my three big pieces that I give people. But most people are afraid to show up as themselves, or they show up as a robot, robot jazz. And you're like, no, why are we robots? Why is this? So if you're having trouble with that, start by doing something like this, where you're doing a Zoom call and you record it and you have a friend interview you. And then you take those clips and put them on social so that you can be as much you as possible. Because I promise you, that's who we're looking for. Nothing
I think
else.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think TikTok has revolutionized marketing. Don't you think? I,
I do, thank
yeah.
God. Yeah, that algorithm is beautiful.
I mean, just the vulnerability and the realness and the rawness. If people who aren't on TikTok, obviously I totally respect that. But I think for me, it was just such amazing to watch, and how to your point, we are craving real and raw, and not because I'm looking for people that are crying. I'm looking for authenticity, right? Because that's
Yeah.
relatable. You can connect with that. And when somebody's willing to share vulnerably, I don't know, it's like it's a human connection that you're opening up to.
Yeah. I mean, it opens up bigger conversations you might not be able to find in your local community or people aren't having yet. It opens up sellers and stores and artists that you can't connect to unless this platform existed. Um, so I mean, I think it's a really great space. I can see why it's a busy space for
Yeah.
some people. And I will say that if you're like, I don't want any bots in my life at all, LinkedIn is the space to stay, because LinkedIn is very big about you have to be a real person to have a profile on LinkedIn, where the other social medias do kind of let more bots in. But I still think it's the authentic people. And when you look at something like Target, if you go through their TikTok, for example, all of their stuff makes it look like it's a person shopping in their store. They can't even create their own content. They have to hire people to do it, because we would scroll past that so fast. We just want that real connection so desperately. And I don't know if that's because of COVID or if we were already feeling that. I kind of feel like we were already feeling that a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
But now we have this opportunity, and I always say, don't waste it. This
Yeah.
is not going to last forever. And this is a beautiful spot for small businesses. Again, artists, coaches, whatever you're doing, this is a beautiful spot to connect with people. Don't miss your opportunity.
And there's a huge growth that I've seen, at least with big brands, to
Yeah.
your point, wanting to convey and be relatable to people using the user generated content, right? And paying, and people making, small businesses, entrepreneurs making a lot of money by creating content for these big brands that make it seem, and it's real and raw content of just everyday people using their brand.
Yeah. Hmm. And that's, yes. And again, think about it when you guys are on social media. What do you scroll past? What do you stop and watch? It's not the ads. It's the people who have shown up to talk to you, to come up with a unique point of view you haven't thought about, that's insight you hadn't really considered. Those are the posts that you stop on. It's the same for your content for other people. And again, I just think it's a really powerful, wonderful space, because where we used to fight each other for clients, we now get to, the people who really connect to us will stop and watch our stuff and reach out to us. And so you also have better client success that way as well, because you start from a better, more authentic place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if I can't believe the time has gone by so quickly.
Yeah, you're easy to talk to.
I knew it'd be easy peasy, always easy. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. Really beautiful. And thank you for being the first guest on the Divine Quotient podcast. Really appreciate that too. And tell people how they can get a hold of you, get in contact with you. Obviously here on LinkedIn, but you have a website. And
Yeah, my website's my name, so jasminepartida.com. So pretty easy.
awesome. What is Partida? What ethnicity is?
Mexican. My husband is Mexican.
Okay,
Mexican
awesome.
American. And a
Awesome. Well,
much better cook than me as well. I'm like, look, salt. And he's like, no, 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 no.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. It's a pleasure. Be sure and tune in next week. We'll be doing these live interviews on LinkedIn and YouTube every Monday from 12 o'clock to 12:30 Central Standard Time. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.